So as we found out in the previous video, we could make multiple windows, put different stimuli onto the windows. The experiment that we thought about was we had a subject in the room next door. They were being shown some visual stimuli, but on our main window, we were having an update on the current experimental progress. And so what I want to do is just show you a bit more of an advanced version of this window and the sorts of things that you can do. So I've gone into one of my programs that I currently run. Now I am aware that you can't see my other screen, which is here, but what we can see for us is a window coming up here, which is counting down the time of the experiment. So what I'll do is I'll shift this over to here, and we can see that the current phase of the experiment is habituation, and that it's counting down the amount of time left for this phase. And then it's actually giving me a prompt. It's saying, okay, you want to start the video recording? Yes. And then once the mouse has done what I want it to do, okay, I then hit the stimulus, begin, and on my monitor here, it's actually playing that expanding black disc according to what we created earlier. It's also showing me on this window here, the current phase of the experiment. Once the stimulus is finished, it's counted down, it's doing it 15 times, so this should stimulate for about 15 seconds. It will then go on to the next phase of the experiment, saying, okay, we've now still recording for 4 seconds, 3 seconds, and then it will just close down automatically. Okay, all done. So here we've got a text box appearing. Now, you'll also note that for this experiment, I've also put information or logged information to the command prompt. I've drawn Franklin the fish here, little ASCII picture here, and I've also created a port. I'm using ZMQ for some communication between different programs, and I'm also checking some timing for possible issues, because one of the things I'm interested in is calculating velocities and things like that, so I need to get pretty good handle on the times. Now it's saying, please check the timing, we might have a problem. That's because I haven't quite set the float to int, and I haven't quite set the rules there. So we're not going to worry about that too much. I will double check that once I finish this video. Anyway, so the point of this video currently is to figure out, well, how do we get text onto the window? So we'll go back from here, we'll go into my demo file, and then we'll try, oh no, this is Windows, so we'll see where, yep, we're on the correct one. Now, what I want to do is just log, so Psychopy can log any errors or problems that it thinks might be of interest to the user. So what I've done is I've used this logging module here, this logging package in the Psychopy to basically say, I only want you to log critical events. So that way, because I'm running OBS and I've got other things in the background, some of the frame timings for the external monitor are going to throw an error because it's outside the standard deviation of its initialization routine. So we don't want those errors because we know there's a reason why we're getting them. So that's what this is, logging.console. We're setting the level to please only publish critical. So these are really important ones. So what do we want to do for this video is we want to put some text onto our window. So we can think of the text as just another visual stimulus. So we know the steps that we need to do. So step 1 is create the window. Step 2 is create the stimulus. Step 3 is draw the stimulus to the window. And then step 4 is flip the window to the screen. So this is essentially all that we do. So let's do step 1. This should all be getting quite familiar to you now. So we'll just call it win0 again, equals visual.window. Now we want a text box, and we don't need it to be too big. So what we'll do is we'll just make it quite wide and not so deep. So we'll say, let's make it say 200 by 100. We can change this later, it's not an issue. We want it to appear on this screen, the main screen for this laptop, so that's screen number 0. We will just use the test monitor lookup tables. We don't need to calibrate anything. We want the units to be pixels. Now, what we want to do is set this window not to appear in the center of the screen. Let's have a look. We don't want it to go there, but rather we want it to go up here, up in this corner here. Oh, where did my finger go? So we can set the position. So the size is here. Let's set the position to, let's make it, let's say, so this is X and Y. So we'll bring it 10 pixels in and we'll set it 50 pixels down. Okay, it's a tuple there. Okay, what else do we need? The color. So we'll make the color again just a boring gray. You can set these parameters to whatever you want. Full screen equals false, and we'll just leave it at that. Right, so there's our window object. Step 2. What do we need? We need a stimulus. So let's look to the documentation. Psychopy has this thing called TextStim. It's in the visual package, and there is the information that we can, the parameters that we can address. We're just going to use a minimal set of parameters here, but please read through and see what each of these do and whether or not they're important for your experiment. We are just going to use, we'll call it, say, TextStim, very original. So visual.textstim. We need to assign it to a window, so we'll call that, well, that's win0, isn't it? Win equals win0, and the text, we're going to say, okay, message here, right, and the position of that text within the window, we'll just put it in the center of the window. Again, you can change this around yourself, and then we'll make the color of the text, again using the red, green and black, we'll make it white. Right, so we've got that. Step 3, we have to then draw that to the window, and then we've got step 4. What's that? Win0.flip. We have to flip it onto the screen, and then what we'll do is we'll use this core.wait to play it for, let's say, 3 seconds. And then right at the end, we always tidy up. So that will be win0.close. So if we've done everything correctly, we should see, hopefully, a text box appear. If not, we have to see what we've done incorrectly. We've created a window. We've put that window up to the top left. Okay, so you can see it there. And then we've got our message there in the middle. So what if we don't want to write our text message in here, but rather we'll create a variable. We'll call it just the MSG. So we can put MSG equals insert habituation time, and we'll make this a little bit longer, so we'll make this say 300. Oops, we'll go back here. So now if we change the variable, the message variable, we will then update that accordingly. So there we go, habituation time is there. So the position, if we set that position now to, we know that it's going to be 300 wide by 100 high. If we set that now to say minus, so it's 300 wide, 50, let's go minus 140. We'll see where we end up. Oops. So we're just tickling the position where the text is going to appear. Okay, so that's gone way too far to the left there. So we'll just come back 100. To 100, see what we get. So it's a little bit of trial and error there. Okay, so we haven't gone far enough. All right, so we'll just go back to 50. Now, we have to be a bit careful because the TextStim, if we start changing things like the words we want to write and the height and the thickness of all the fonts and whatnot, it can take a little bit longer to draw those. So we have to be a bit careful with exactly how many things we change. But there is a way to get around that, and that is we can do this myTextStim.text equals myStim.text. So you can just reset the .text parameter, or we could set the text, and that quickens it up. Okay, so that's how we can draw text. We think of it as just as a visual stimulus, but instead of drawing a circle or a grating or a gable or whatever it is that we're doing, we are now just writing text in. And if you have a look at my program that I wrote before, let me bring it across for you here. Okay, you'll see that this is pretty much exactly what I've done. So let me just make this a bit smaller. Can you still see that? You can. So here we have the window here. I make two windows, and there's the circle that I'm going to put onto the window. And then if we have here, we have some print statements, but then have a look here. Message equals visual.textstim. It's going onto the window 0. The text is going to be the habituation time remaining. So that's what I've written there, and it's at the 000 position. And then I set the text. I then draw the text onto the window. I then flip that window, and then we wait 250 milliseconds. So here, that is the countdown timer, essentially, in that window that we've created. So we can make these text boxes update and do some really quite complicated things, independently of what our stimulus is doing. Okay, we'll leave this video here.